time now for this week's installment of the Big 12 matchups and then some. This is when I pick key Big 12 ball games against the spread, and I also pick a few games outside the Big 12 as well. Pick 10 games total, and I go against this guy right here, the almighty Penny. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. But before we pick this week's games, let's go ahead and take a look at how I did last week. Last week, oh yeah, 8-2 against the spread. Wow, the only games I lost were Georgia, South Carolina, as well as BYU Air Force. The rest of the games was gravy. So 8-2 for the week, while the almighty Penny went 7-3, so not bad for Abe Lincoln. For the year, I am now a documented 14-5-1 against the spread, while the Penny, not bad, 12-7-1 against the spread. So right now, I have a 2-game lead on the Penny, but of course the games will get tougher to pick as the season goes along. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Saturday in the Big 12. Yes, Big 12 play starts with 2 games. The first one, Texas at Texas Tech. We all know what happened last time Texas went to Lubbock. They came in number 1, but they came out losing the game thanks to Michael Crabtree's last-second touchdown. Don't think Texas hasn't forgotten about that? Well, Saturday, we will see a new offense and a new guy for Texas in the form of Garrett Gilbert at quarterback, not Colt McCoy. He's moved on. Texas Tech still has their skilled players, but no longer has Mike Leach on the sideline. It's now Tommy Tuberville. It's a night game. It's going to be loud in Lubbock. It's going to be crazy. But in this case, with Texas giving 3 points, I look at the factors in front of me. Texas can get at least 4 yards a carry from that ground game that they've relied on so heavily the first 2 games. And if the Texas defense continues to play the way they've been playing, Texas, I think, will cover the spread and should be able to pull away from Tech in the 4th quarter. Despite the game being in Lubbock, I'm going to go with Texas giving the 3 points. If the coin lands on heads, the Penny likes the favorite. If the coin lands on tails, then the Penny likes the underdog. In this case, the Penny agrees with me because it landed on heads. Texas to cover for both of us. Then you have Kansas State, Iowa State. The game's being played for the 2nd straight year in Kansas City. Last season, Iowa State had an extra point blocked in the final seconds. Kansas State won the game by a point. So far, so good for Kansas State this year in year number 2 in the return of legendary head coach Bill Snyder. I think Kansas State, with their potent running attack, and Iowa State looked awful last week against Iowa offensively and defensively. K-State in this game is only giving 3.5. That spread has gone down. I like Kansas State giving the 3.5 points, while the Penny likes Kansas State as well. Then you have Oklahoma State versus Tulsa. There are going to be a lot of points in this game in Stillwater come Saturday night. I think Oklahoma State wants to prove something. Last week against Troy, struggling with penalties, with turnovers, lack of execution. I think Oklahoma State easily will cover the 7 points this week against the Golden Hurricanes. So Oklahoma State giving the 7, and the Penny likes Tulsa taking the 7. You also have Nebraska at Washington in what is Nebraska's only difficult non-conference game of the year. They've had a couple of cream puffs to start. Now it gets serious because they have to go to Seattle in a Pac-10 environment in a stadium that does vibrate. Trust me, it won't be easy for Nebraska, but so far I like what I'm seeing from Taylor Martinez, the Husker quarterback. Not too bad of an arm, but he can really hurt you when he scrambles. This cat is fast. I think Nebraska only giving 3 points. I love Nebraska in this game, giving the 3, while the Penny likes Washington. One more Big 12 affiliated game. Baylor at TCU. Baylor off to a flying start. Granted, it's been against easy competition, but Robert Griffin looking very good for the Bears. They're going to TCU. Now, I think TCU is going to win this game. It's being played in Fort Worth. But 21.5 points is way too many. I think Baylor is going to give up points, but I think they're going to score some as well. So I think it's absurd that TCU is going to cover the 21.5. So I'm going to say TCU to win, but Baylor getting the 21.5, while the coin likes Baylor to getting the points. Now let's go to some nationwide games. Arkansas is at Georgia. Arkansas off to a flying start. In fact, they're in the top 15 in the country. Georgia descending somewhat, looking horrible on offense against South Carolina, losing that game. So why is Georgia the favorite? I'm asking myself the same question. Mark Richt could be on the hot seat if they have another mediocre season like they did last year. Last year, they lost 5 ball games. They could be on a pace to do just that this year. Still no A.J. Green for the Bulldogs. He won't play in this one. The games between the hedges, Arkansas's offense, Ryan Mallett, quarterback, has looked awesome. I think Arkansas, not only do I think that they'll cover, but I actually think they're going to win the game straight up. But since we're doing scoring off point spreads, give me Arkansas getting the 2.5. I'm going with the underdog, while the coin likes Arkansas too. Clemson at Auburn. Auburn is favored by 7. I've gone back and forth on this game because I think both quarterbacks are terrific. But I look at how the ACC has done so far in the month of September. They've been flat out bad, especially last week where they lost at least 5 games involving other BCS conferences. So I'm going to take Auburn under the lights in Auburn on Saturday night. College game day is there this week. So I'll take Auburn giving the 7, and the coin likes Clemson. 3 more games. BYU at Florida State. Both teams lost last week. BYU looked flat in the second half against Air Force, and Florida State looked flat, it seemed like, throughout the whole game against Oklahoma, but the game is at home. I think Florida State's offense gets back on track. BYU, you can tell that they missed veteran quarterback Max Hall, who's moved on. BYU struggling right now. I think Florida State playing at home and seeing how they did last year in Provo, walloping BYU. I think that they win this game. I think they cover the 9.5, and the coin likes Florida State as well. Florida at Tennessee. Last week, Tennessee played good for a half against Oregon, but the second half, the Ducks simply put their foot on the gas and blew Tennessee away in Rocky Top Country. Tennessee is getting 14 points. Florida struggled in the first half against South Florida, but pulled away in the second. Tennessee does not have invincibility at home. They haven't had invincibility for a while at home. Florida, even though it's a large spread at 14, I think the Gators cover the spread. So I'll take Florida giving the 14 points. The coin likes Florida. One more game, and I think this is the game of the week. It involves ranked ball clubs. We find out if Mike Stoops' team is for real in Arizona. A late night kickoff, 9:30 Oklahoma time, as they will host Iowa on Saturday night. Iowa is a top 10 team. And I think the time that the game's being played is going to help Arizona. They're used to playing late at night. Iowa isn't. Iowa, veteran defensive team, but this is going to be the best offense that they faced. Arizona playing at home, playing under the lights. I think Arizona getting 1 point. This is basically a pick 'em. So I'm going to say Arizona wins, and the coin likes Arizona. So the coin and I agreed on almost every game. There were a few differences. We'll go over our picks next week